begin. How did you find the poem? Do you understand the poem? No? Difficult? Lidan Swan. It is story, it's mythology. It's well known, and the many artists and many poets have dealt with this story, mythology, and Yeats is one of them. And we can have a look at the story, the background of this. What do you find? Who is the painter? Or Peter Paul Rubens. Right? Do you find she's beautiful? Actually, she looks like a man, right? And Rubens copied this painting after what? It's after Michelangelo, right? Michelangelo. Actually, the painting is lost. Let's have a look. Can you see the bird? This one. Huh? And another painting. This painting is by Da Vinci. Right? This one. And this painting. Who is the artist? Who did it? Look at the painting. Whose painting is it? Can you guess? Nobody? Strange, right? It's Paul Cézanne. Right? Bird here. And this is cloth, right? And maybe another painting. Mosaic from Cyprus. Many more, right? This painting is, you saw this painting, right? This is after Michelangelo. And this one is what? Giovanni Francesco Melzi. This is after Da Vinci. Okay. So this story has been the subject of artists, right? Let's go back to the, here. In poetry, Ronsard wrote a poem on La Defloration de la Leda, perhaps inspired by the Michelangelo. But by the Michelangelo painting, which he may well have known, like many artists, he imagined the big. In the poem, Yeats uses the expression big or bill, B-I-L-L, both words. Inspired by the Michelangelo, which he may well have known. Like many artists, he imagined the big, penetrating leader's vagina. The Lidan's Swan is a sonnet by William Butler Yeats, first published in The Dial, 1924, combining psychological realism with a mystic vision. It describes the swan's rape of Leda. It also suggests that this event leads to the murder of Agamemnon. by Clytemnestra, his wife. The latter being the daughter of Leda. The poem is regularly praised as one of Yeats's masterpieces. Camille Paglia, who called the poem the greatest poem of the 20th century, and said all human beings like Leda are caught up moment by moment in the white rush of experience. For Yeats, the only salvation is the shapeliness and stillness of art. See external links for bas-relief arranged in the position as described by Yeats. Nicaraguan poet Rubén Darío also wrote about this. H.D. Hilda Doolittle, modernist poet, also wrote a poem called Leda in 1919, and so on. Sylvia Plath, right? Sylvia Plath. Sylvia Plath alludes to the myth in her radio play, Three Women, written for the BBC in 1962. The play featured the voices of three women. The first is a married woman who keeps a baby. The second is a secretary who suffers a miscarriage. Third, the woman's voice, a girl who is pregnant and leaves a baby, mentions the great swan with his terrible look coming at me, insinuating that the girl was raped. The play is about the disconnection of women in society, challenges societal experiences, childbirth. Sylvia Plath, American poet, right? On Thursday, we are going to read another poem. It's also about a story, half of it mythology and half of it history. Solomon to Sheba. Okay, Leda and Swan. A sudden blow, the great wings beating still above the staggering girl, her thighs grasped by the dark webs, a nape caught in his bill, he holds a helpless breast upon his breast. You remember the Michelangelo painting? Right? How can those terrified, vague fingers push the feathered glory from a loosening thighs? And how can body, laid in that whitewash, but feel the strange heart beating where it lies? A shudder in the loins engenders there the broken wall, the burning roof and tower, and Agamemnon dead. Being so caught up, so mastered by the blood of the air, did she put on his knowledge with his power, before the indifferent beak could let her drop. How many stanzas are there? 3 stanzas, right? Three stanzas. Stanza 1 and stanza 2, each have what? How many lines? 4 lines, right? In the first stanza, the first line, in the first line, the beginning phrase is not a sentence. Sudden blow. A sudden blow. Is it a sentence? It's not a sentence. A sudden blow. And this, I think this imitates the action, right? What is taking place, the rape, right? Suddenly, a bird attacked the woman. A sudden blow, right? And if you say, suddenly, a bird appeared and attacked a woman, is it point? No, a sudden blow, right? A sudden blow. Then the punctuation, colon, right? A sudden blow. The great wings beating still above the staggering girl, her thighs grasped by dark webs, her nape caught in his bill. Which one is main close? Where is the subject? This is one sentence, right? This is one sentence. Where is the subject? He holds the helpless breast upon his breast. Main subject. So the main clause appears at the end of the sentence, right? And before this, a lot of action take place. The great wings beating still. Also, look at the rhyme scheme. First line ends with still, second line ends with caressed, still, caressed. Third line ends with bill. Fourth line, breast, still, caressed, bill, breast. Right? Perfect for rhyme. So you can imagine, right? A sudden blow, the great wings beating still, above the staggering girl, her thighs caressed by the dark webs, a nape-coated smell, he holds her helpless breast upon his breast. In stanza 2, how can those terrified vague fingers, whose fingers are they? Whose fingers? These fingers are whose fingers? The vague fingers. Fingers. The poet uses the webs. The bird's fingers are webs, right? So, how can those terrified vague fingers push the feathered glory from her loosening thighs? Push the feathered glory. What does it mean? The feathered glory. In Korean, what do you say? Wonchong, right? Wonchong, right? Something like that. Glory, feathered glory, from her loosening thighs. And how can body? Look at the word body. Who's bodied? How can body? Her body or the body without any article. Body. What does it mean? Probably the poet wanna universalize it. He wants to make it universal, right? He is talking about history. He is talking about the moment a new history begins, right? So, okay. How can body laid in that white rush, but feel the strange heart beating where it lies? How can body? Why can't the body? How cannot the body? Can the body not feel the strange heart beating where it lies? A shudder in the loins engenders there the broken wall, the burning roof and tower, and Agamemnon dead. A shudder in the loins engenders there, a shudder in the loins. Of course, the speaker is talking about woman, right? A shudder in the loins of the leader. Right? Engenders there, engenders there. Broken wall, the burning roof and tower. This is the overlap, right? Two images overlap, right? War, right? War broke out, right? Fire broke out. Castle, right? The tower collapsed, right? Fires burning, right? Also, another image is what? The condition of woman being raped, right? Right, so the burning tower, roof and tower, right? The broken wall, and Agamemnon dead. Agamemnon, the general, he was killed by his wife, Clytemnestra, right? Remember? Right? So this is a superb mixing of history and the actual scene of rape taking place, right? Being so caught up, so mastered by the blood of the air, being so caught up and so mastered by the blood of the air, the she leader, the she put on his knowledge with his power before the indifferent beak could let it drop. This is very small poem, right? But it contains the whole history of humanity, right? So one critic claims that this is the greatest poem of the last century. Do you agree? Maybe, right? Okay. Okay, now let's go to the essay about this poem. Actually, this essay is taken from my dissertation, PhD dissertation in chapter 4. I discussed several poems, and we're going to read the part of the essays discussing both poems, Leda and Swan and Solomon to Sheba. Okay. Page 180. After Yeats married George in 1917, a new sense of the physical was added to his concept of love and beauty. While Yeats' sense of women grew increasingly complex through the long and difficult relationship with Maud Gonne, his sense of women as physical beings, as sexual partners, did not become concrete until his marriage. A brief summary of the development of Yeats' concept of love and beauty in the previous chapters would lead to a better sense of what the poems treated in this chapter tell about love and beauty. As we've seen, Diane and Dictora represent ethereal, pre-Raphaelite asexuality or a spiritual sensuality. The Queen in the Cabin Bells, another poem, was a cold and demanding figure who extracted all from a lover before granting herself. The Helen figure, with all the human frailty despite all the beauty, was too mythic to be physically attainable. With all of these images in the background, George, Yeats' wife, George, serves as a turning point in Yeats' concept of love and beauty and wisdom. With George, Yeats married, lovely but not a legend, generously and spontaneously warm-hearted in affection, attentive to his desires. Yeats experienced a different kind of relationship that changed his ideas about love and the role sexuality plays in it. Marriage is perhaps the oldest symbol for unity of being, and in his marriage, complete with George's possession by voices, which spoke meanings suspiciously dear to Yeats' own study, he found a combination of affection, sex, and intellectual excitement. From this experience, he created a new concept of both wisdom and physical harmony. He went beyond the tortuous antitheses of heart and mind, body and soul, which had marked his relationship with Maud Gonne, or the fatal antithesis of sex and love, which sent him to Olivia Shakespeare for relief and then away from her in frustration. Olivia Shakespeare is another woman. He had an affair with her before our marriage, when he was young, of course. Yeah. He developed a combination that defined sexual love as the avenue to wisdom and the union of the marriage bed, as the paradigm for unity of being. The longer is the poetic persona, the frustrated questioner in Eugene, a poem, long poem, or the jester in the cabin bell, or it in many unhappy love poems, in which she little cared what he felt. The poetic persona was now Solomon, caught in the presence of Sheba. Solomon Sheba, as well as Solomon with which directly explores a new version vision of wisdom through a presentation of lovers' relationship. The gift of Harun al-Rashid combines both the personal and self-consciously philosophic. Gustav ben Luca writes of the wisdom of heart and body for all the ages to come. His message will be both refined in point and vulgarized in language of the common speech when repeating the words of Crazy Jane. The Rip poems portray yet another kind of sexuality, a perfect angelic union of man and woman, as in there is no touching here, nor touching there, nor straining joy, but whole is joined to whole. All these poems are the articulated manifestation of poetic answers to the questions raised by this chapter's opening poem, Leader and Swan, about the relationship between sexuality and wisdom, the personal and the historical, the mortal and the divine. Okay, what follows is a discussion of the poem, Leader and Swan. Leader and Swan, published in 1923, is Yeats's most famous sonnet. It tells us of the inspiration of the poem. This is what Yeats said. The editor, George Russell, of a political review, the Irishman Statesman, asked me for a poem. I thought, after the individualist demagogic movement founded by Hobbes and popularized by the encyclopedists and the French Revolution, we have a soil so exhausted that it cannot grow, that crop again. For centuries then, I thought, nothing is now possible but some movement or birth from above, preceded by some violent annunciation. So he is thinking of a new age, right? My fancy began to play with Leader and Swan for metaphor, and I began this poem. But as I wrote, Burden Lady took such possession of the scene that all politics went out of it. And my friend tells me that his conservative readers would misunderstand the poem. Sure enough, right? A lot of women scholars who are feminists says this is a horrible poem. This is a right. The poem stands as a prologue to the Dove and Swan section of A Vision, where Yeats wrote A Vision. Okay. I imagine the Annunciation that founded Greece, or as made to Leda, remembering that they showed in a Spartan temple, sprung up to the roof as a holy relic, an unhatched egg of hers, Helen's eggs, and that from one of her eggs came love, and from the other war, Helen and Clytemnestra, right? But all things are from the antitheses, and when, in my ignorance, I try to imagine what other civilization that Annunciation rejected, I can but see bird and woman blotting out some corner of the Babylonian mathematical starlight. Much of Yeats's mature poetics materialize in this majestic sonnet. This poem is at once highly personal and public, both sensual and spiritual, both real and mystic, both passionate and intellectually cold, both concrete and abstract, both metaphoric and metonymical. Critics have studied the poem extensively. For example, let's go to the you don't have the footnote. I think I got the footnote. Okay. Okay. This poem is a realization of Yeats' poetic concerns as well as of his view of love and war. Leader and Swan itself is a brilliant feat of artistry. It is rare in English literature that so massive a theme is contained and so rigorously controlled the poetic form. The core of the poem's content symbolically and naturally is rooted in its form. This poem, however, did not come spontaneously. Its intensity and force had been gathered through a painstaking preparation. As Ellman shows, the poem underwent six 6 versions of development, 4 of which are coded in his book. Great, right? This is the method. This is the way Yeats works on a poem. Actually, he put down his idea in a prose and turned into poems. First draft, second draft, and third draft, and on. It took so much time and effort to make this poem, right? So, the poem depicts the swan's sudden attack upon the girl, and the synecdochic close-ups of the union between the girl and the bird. In the sestet, the first three lines expressly represent the orgasmic climax and the marmonic stillness after the ejaculation. The rest of sestet raises a philosophic question. Much critical attention has been paid to the use of the verbs in the poem, and evidently some critics have misinterpreted the significance of them. For instance, the passive voice is seen simply as a mimetic of Leda's passivity, etc. In the first stanza, Leda is described by using the passive verbs. The thighs grasped by the dark webs, a nape caught in his bill. The past participial forms of the verbs grasped and caught are used in the present progressive tenses, as in, her thighs are being grasped, her nape is being caught in his bill. The tense here is a presentation of action occurring as one describes it. The poem is a sort of vision as in the Magi. In the Magi, the poet is seeing and foreseeing simultaneously. Now, as at all times, I can see in the mind's eye. Also, in a vision, we do not fully understand the significance of what we are seeing. Levin, he's a great scholar, but he misreads it, right? Levin, he's one of the best scholars, actually. Levin reads "caught" in the initial stanza as an active verb, a past of an intransitive verb. This reading, in view of other ambiguities in the poem, seems plausible, in spite of the fact that the balance of the sentence is broken. The passive voice of the verb is, on one level, expressive of Leda's helpless state of being suddenly attacked, but on another level, it seems that she is responding in a passively positive way. Passively positive way. What does it mean? Human instinct, right? Human instinct. In this stanza again, as Levin sees, the present participle, staggering, in the staggering girl, could be read as a transitive verb, as in the girl staggers. The girl staggers the swan god. Transitive verb, right? The ambiguous mood and situation of the rape scene do allow such a reading. Although this one looks oppressive and powerful, it would be possible for a staggering or an entrance girl, a staggering girl to stagger him or his mental integrity, maybe. According to the earlier versions as shown by Ellman, the relevant phrases are the stretched body, her trembling body, and helpless face, while this one is hovering still. But during the creative process of the poem, they had gathered complexity of ambiguity, as in the word the staggering. Levin's other reading enriches the poem's ambiguity. Those terrified vague fingers might be the swan, although I concur that this reading seems to have been forced. In this poem, even the clearest syntax turns into ambiguity. Yeats' use of tense is quite effective. All the verbs, except in the last rumination of the poet in the sestet, are in the present tense. This tense vivifies the rape scene, also universalizes Leda and Swan as part of a recurrent historical cycle, like the use of the present tense as in the tense the earth turns round the sun. But this use of the verb is significant in that the poet does not want to get involved in the fixing of the poem meaning. The poet simply wants to describe it, adding more and more uncertainty despite the very clear visual imagery. Another set of effective uses is a sudden blow, in that white rush and the shudder in the loins. As parts of speech, they are nouns but are used as verbs in meaning. The sexual action is concisely and clearly implied in those nouns. The octet and sestet both start with resonant noun phrases. First with the sudden blow, and the second with the shudder in the loins. In the octet, the quick tempo of the event is expressly contained in the economy phrase. There is then a caesura, stillness, just after a sudden blow. Then, the main clause, he holds a helpless breast upon his breast, is preceded by the long line of double stresses, by the dark webs, a nape coat in his bill, which is mimetic of the staggering of the girl being raped, but also staggering of the mentality of the swan god. The sestet begins with a shudder, which is the cause of the sudden blow. A shudder is rhythmically a good contrast to a sudden blow. The meter in each case governing the movement described, which mirror the condition of the girl being raped and which capture the mythic and painful loss of the virginity of the girl, as well as Zeus's ambivalence between compulsion and choice, between this staggering mentality and this single-minded concentration of sexual movement. The power of the poem originates from the tension between the swan's attacking and the girl's resisting, the swan's indifferent withdrawal from her, and the girl's carrying forward the movement in conception. Here again is a delicate interplay of the ambiguity between lead and Zeus. It is an interplay of passion and coldness. Yeats wrote the general introduction for my work. I try to make the language of poetry coincide with that of passionate normal speech, all that its personal rots. It must be packed in ice. The supernatural is present. Cold winds blow across our hands, upon our faces. The thermometer falls. And because of that cold, we are hated by journalists and groundlings. The maid of honor, who is a trustee, they sing, must be lifted out of history with timeless pattern. She is one of the four Maoris. The rhythm is old and familiar. Imagination must dance, must be carried beyond feeling into the aboriginal eyes. Is eyes the correct word? I once boasted, copying the phrase from a letter of my father's, that I would write a poem called Passionate as the Dawn. The cold version laid in that white rush, which is the seminal image as well as the image of passionate movement, cannot resist the sexual force of the swan. Here again, the rape scene is an image of sexual compulsion beyond control, whether passionate or cold, indifferent. Humans have survived by the mysterious instinct of white rush. On one level of meaning, the shudder represents sexuality as the transcending and transfiguring power of humanity. On another, it is a mere sexual act out of animal instinct. The poet imagines the possibly exquisite but ambivalent reaction of the girl in a series of questions which remain unanswered. How can those terrified, vague fingers push the feathered glory from her loosening thighs? How can body laid in that white rush but feel the strange heart beating where it lies? The synecdoche close-up of orgasm is ambiguously both mythological and personal on two levels. The whole of civilization is telescoped in the passionate shudder. On one level, the broken wall symbolizes the broken virginity. The burning roof and tower are the traditional images of female and male sexuality. On another, this shudder engenders the birth of Helen, who caused the fall of Troy, and of Clytemnestra, who murdered her husband, Agamemnon. The broken wall, the burning roof and tower all evoke the scenes of Troy ablaze. Shudder in the loin engenders there the broken wall, the burning roof and tower, and Agamemnon dead. Through the interplay of ambiguity, the poem contrasts the divine with the human. The Godhead is generally turned into abstraction. The feathered glory, whitewash, a shudder in the loins, the blood, whereas the girl is concretized by tangible physicality of the body, nape, breast, fingers, thighs, body. But the scenes of attack in the initial stanza employ concrete words to describe the bird, because the abstraction in this stanza may not present a quick, clear-cut picture. Once the scene and mood are set, abstraction enhances the attributes of divine. Despite all the sharpened imagery of the poem, its ambiguity remains unresolved, causing questions which are not easy to answer within the poem. Does knowledge, wisdom come in sexual union? Does one feel mystery? Can one yet yield to the force? Can violence and ecstasy be the same thing? Does history come out of such moments of passion? Some of these questions seem to be answered in the Solomon and Sheba poems and the Gift of Harun al-Rashid and other poems. Neither a leader and swan stands in contrast to Solomon and Sheba or Kushta and his wife. Zeus is a god and leader mortal, whereas Solomon and Sheba, Kushta and his love are mortals. Leader is raped, but Sheba and Kushta's wife are the positive participants of marriage sexuality. Okay, why don't we go back to the poem, and then I'm going to read it once again. Listen to it. Leader and swan. A sudden blow, the great wings beating still above the staggering girl, her thighs grasped by the dark webs, her nape caught in his bill. He holds a helpless breast upon his breast. How can those terrified, vague fingers push the weathered glory from her loosening thighs? How can body laid in that whitewash but feel in the strange heart beating lies? A shudder in the loins engenders there the broken wall, the burning roof and tower, Agamemnon dead. Being so caught up, so mastered by the blood of the air, did she put in its knowledge with his power before the indifferent beak could let it drop? Okay, we'll take a 10 minutes break.